I mean, I find it entertaining.
You do?
I do. I enjoy talking to you.
I enjoy talking to you. So I'm recording now, since you started complaining.
Oh, now you're recording. Now that the entire thing is gone.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Good job. Anyway, so what was your question? You had a question a minute ago. How are we going to get this ball rolling? How are we going to get started?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking because, like, you and I, we have a lot of similar views and interests, and we have a lot of the same backgrounds. But something we share that I think is awesome is that the way we view the world, you know. And I think a lot of people think this way or have these thoughts, but in doubt, so they're not confident enough, or they're scared to sometimes to question those things and like really research them in depth and figure them out because they feel like they're not to question God, you know.
Right.
That's one thing, you know.
Yeah, that's one thing for sure. I'm really grateful for for meeting somebody that sees the value in talking about this kind of stuff. You know, that sees that it's important. It's important to sway people away from religion. You know, I mean, religionists may listen to this and they may just believe that. God damn it! I lost my train of thought. Basically, that I'm saying all the things, you know, that an evil person would say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You need to think for yourself. You need to stop believing all that kind of stuff. God is evil and all this kind of stuff. You know, but I feel like I was going nowhere with that.
No, I can. Let me pick up. I got something. Okay, so earlier I was having a conversation with Leo. I was asking him about just about the cultural anthropology and stuff, and I was asking him about it because he's studied that quite a bit, and there's something he brought up that was really interesting. He said that in the beginning there was Adam and Eve, and God told them, you know, not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. And he pointed out to me something that I guess I've thought about, but I've never really put into words or reiterated, kind of just like never focused enough on this one point. And that he brought it out perfectly was that when Eve and Adam ate from that fruit, they sinned, I guess, and God punished them for that. But that was before they even knew what sin was. So it was really unfair.
Well, definitely. I mean, that was actually one of the first big questions I brought to my dad when I was little. I want to say it was like 13 or something, maybe 14. And I was asking him about, you know, Adam and Eve and everything. And it just, because it seemed like the way God had initially set it up, none of us could come to earth until Adam and Eve eat the fruit. Like, it was almost like that was an important part of the plan, you know. And if they didn't eat the fruit, then everything would have been screwed, you know. And we would never have been able to come to earth. They would never have babies, yada yada yada. You know, I asked him. I was like, Dad, it almost seems like, doesn't it seem like God is sort of setting them up? That He wants them to choose a certain thing. And he got so angry at me. Like, I don't really remember everything that was said. I just remember, you know, asking that question. And just getting really pissed at me, you know, basically that I would question that. And then he just sent me to my room or whatever. And so that was one of the first things that, you know, made me start thinking about, you know, hey, something's up, you know.
No.
They always taught me growing up, you know, seek after the truth or whatever, ask and ye shall find, or seek and ye shall find, you know, and all that kind of shit. And yet, when it came down to actually asking the question, I received that in return, you know. And so that's enough to start making anybody think about this stuff, at least subconsciously.
I would like to compare our religions, like, because you were raised Mormon, and I was in a Jehovah's Witness, you know, at one point. We were both had cult-like backgrounds, and, you know, there's some similarities, but there's a lot of differences too, you know. And one of the things I'm interested in, because I don't think we've discussed this, is in the beginning when Adam and Eve, you know, were in the Garden of Eden and everything. There's some things that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that is very different from other people, even though they use the same Bible. You know, pretty much the same Bible. I mean, because we would preach door to door using other people's Bibles. We would be like, let me show you in your Bible. It's not really different from ours. It, you know, they're all translated a little bit different, but they have the same meaning, you know?
Right.
So, okay, I want to tell you, like, what we believed. It happened in the beginning, and then I want you to tell me what Mormons believe is different in contrast, or if they're the same. Okay. So, we believed, or I believed at one point, as a Jehovah's Witness, and they still believe this, that God put the animals on earth, and then he made Adam, and then he saw that it wasn't good for Adam to be alone. So he took one of his ribs, right, and he made a woman, Eve, and breathed into her nostrils, and then she became to life. And it was their duty to become plentiful, you know, to basically have sex and make a lot of babies, and to be rulers over the earth and the animals, like they were the ones like in charge of everything. And for some reason, she didn't get pregnant when she was perfect. Like, we don't even know how long they were on earth, because it doesn't say, from the point that they were created to the point when they ate the fruit. We don't know if it was 10 minutes later, a day, a week, month, years, 10 years. But for some reason, even though they were supposed to have sex, she didn't get pregnant until after she sinned. So here's the thing that we believe. So because she ate from the, she was told not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, but she ate from it because she was persuaded by the serpent, the snake, and then she gave some to Adam, and he saw it was good for eating, so he ate it too. And then God's voice came in through the garden and asked them what they had done, and then Adam blamed her, and then from that moment on, it said that they started to grow old and die because they were no longer perfect, no longer immortal, no longer going to live forever, right? So they also had knowledge of good and bad. So from that point on, they knew they were naked, so they, you know, made some clothes for themselves, and they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And from our understanding, it's that they were, like, from that point growing old, and they were gonna die, you know? They knew that. And then once she had kids after that point, they all were imperfect because they inherited her sin-like state, not her perfect-like state.
Right.
And
that's where the origin of sin, when we're born with sin and all that good stuff, right?
Right. And so for some reason, God said, you know, the only way I'm going to be able to forgive you guys for this is if I have a son or come down as my son to earth. I don't know, that part's confusing if you don't believe in the Trinity, or if you do, you know, I'm going to come down to earth as my son, or send my son down to earth, and he's like me, and in a fleshly body, and he's going to be born of a virgin, and he's going to sacrifice himself. He's going to live a perfect life, and as long as he lives a perfect life, he can sacrifice himself and gain back what you guys lost. And there's a scripture that says, through one man sin entered in through the world to the world, and through one man it was bought back. So through one man it entered, and that meant Adam, but then it was bought back by Jesus. Now it says through one man's sin entered into the world, but really it was through Adam and Eve. So it was actually two people that entered through. That's one thing. And then it was bought back by Jesus. See, I don't understand that if God is all in all, be all, why he had to make that rule, because he has no one to answer to. And why did that have to be the only way for him to be able to give them back, you know, the state of perfection, or to forgive them? Why was that the only way? If there was no reason, he could have came up with a completely different way, you know?
Yeah, or it's just made the way that there was no way that he had to make, and just forgive everybody.
Yeah, he could have just been forgiving. Like, you know what? Okay, listen, you ate the fruit. You ate the fruit, so, you know, this is why I don't want you to eat it. Like, if my kids mess up, I'm going to talk to them about it so they understand. But I would never condemn my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and everybody else, you know, for the rest of history. And then especially being all-knowing, like being able to tell the future and seeing all the problems it would cause in the world and all the, like, rape and murder and, like, just all the atrocities. Like, knowing the future, I wouldn't be able to be okay with that.
Right.
Over a fruit. Over my kids eating a fruit. There's no way.
Yeah, but but even, it's not really the fruit, of course, it's what it symbolizes. But then what does it symbolize? It symbolizes understanding. Like, it symbolizes knowledge. It symbolizes, understanding the different perspectives. And that's the real sin.
But
the real sin is
sad
that they sinned against the virtue of obedience. And, of course, obedience is not a virtue at all. It's terrible, man.
That's sad because so many people, like especially Christians, will justify that God, has to be loved unconditionally, but, it also has to be by free will. So, and they say that without free will, you can't have an option to love God. So for there to be an option, you have to be able to opt out and say, have a decision. Either you do or you don't. And that's the excuse they use. But what you're saying right now is that, that obviously that wasn't even, it's not even good to have the option, because the knowledge of good and bad gave them the option to love him. And if he really wanted that, that would have came free from the beginning. And how could they possibly sin if they were perfect? If perfect means no sinning,
Yeah.
That's what I don't get.
I think it just means one who has yet to sin. That's what perfect means in that context, probably.
Now, before I get too off topic, because I did want to hear your the Mormon side, I just wanted to say real quick, like just because I'm on this thought, like.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm just like, so with the way that people work, like in the reality works, like you either do or you don't, or something's you either turn left or right, you go up and down. There's like really not, either it's good or bad, a lot of black and white areas. And I feel like it's almost like the perfect ideal of a person, like a person being perfect, this type of expectation we're trying to live up to is so stupid, because it's so not logical or reasonable.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be perfect. We're not designed, or even if we are designed, it's not to be perfect. We make mistakes. We can either, and because of free will equals mistakes. That's what I think. Because if you could have free will and being perfect meant always doing the right thing, that makes no sense, actually. I think it makes no sense, because if you have a decision, if you have an option to do one thing or the other, if you're never going to choose the other thing and never make mistakes, then what's the point? Like, I don't understand why we have this idea. Like, this is why I hate I hate the fact that I've been indoctrinated with these beliefs, because it really makes it challenging to think outside of the parameters of what I've been taught, that's so inculcated in me. Because people who aren't brought up with any religion, I think they're so lucky, because that's maybe not hard for them to, like, understand that. And when it's so hard for me, because, like, when I try to wrap my brain around it, it just seems like that type of topic where they say that everything has a beginning except God. His life is like a circle, never had a beginning or an end, which makes no sense.
Right.
Like, that's hard to wrap my brain around too,
Well, as far as the Mormon one goes, I think one of the big differences is kind of the prequel to the whole thing. So sort of the way they look at it is that everybody was alive already. Like, I was a spirit in set form, and you were in Sable form, and we were chilling in heaven before Earth was ever, put together or whatever.
So they think we, like, before Adam and Eve, we were already in heaven, already made, and it was already pre-existed?
Yeah, pre-existence.
Oh, wow.
There you go. That's what they call it.
So they did not. So they believe that we already existed, and then we were. So our souls were already.
Right. We already existed, and the way it works is, like, God has the plan of salvation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so He needs to decide which plan will work to get as many of His children back to heaven with him as possible, right? And so the two plans that were brought forward were Jesus' plan and Satan's plan. And so Satan's plan was to basically force everybody to make the right choices and everything, to take away free will so that everyone would be guaranteed to make it back to heaven and be with God, right?
Okay.
And so, and Jesus' plan was to give everybody free will, to give them an example or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there was a big war in heaven. That's what the war in heaven was about, allegedly. And it was a war of ideas or whatever. So these two camps are basically arguing. And then what ends up happening is the ones who side with Satan, they get cast out with Satan, and they get sent to. Mormons don't really believe in hell like Christians do, like some eternal fiery burning place or whatever.
Oh, neither do Jehovah's Witnesses either. They don't believe in hell.
Oh, okay. Like they view hell sort of as they call it outer darkness, and all it really means is separation from God. So like being outside of God's presence somehow. And so I'm not really sure. Yeah, so I'm not really sure. The way I always envisioned it was just kind of blackness, like sitting alone in just the pitch blackness, and nothing around you.
Jehovah's Witnesses, in contrast to that, they have a very logical view of death for people who are bad. They say they are simply dead, non-existent, like when you unplug a TV, like when you see a dead dog. Like, death is so realistic to them for people who are bad. It's so realistic. And that's one thing, it's like, so I guess it was easy for me to make that transition of when I stopped believing in their heaven and paradise. But so go on.
Yeah.
So the Mormons.
They got cast.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually 2/3 of the angels of heaven or whatever that.
And that's scriptural. That's a scriptural part.
Yeah. This is all doctrinal.
Yeah.
And they supposedly they all kind of like there was a third that was totally on Satan's side, another third that was totally on Jesus' side, and then a third, the other third that was kind of like teetering in the middle, back and forth. We don't know whose side we're on. So those the 1/3 gets cast out, and then the other 2/3 gets to come down to heaven. Down to earth. And they get their human bodies, their physical bodies, and the idea of the plan of salvation or whatever is that we come down here in spirit form to take on a physical body to experience physicality or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And to basically conquer the material aspect. And then when we die, then we live righteously, and then you die and you're resurrected. When you're resurrected, you're like, basically a perfected human body, and you live forever. And so that's the idea. And then you can ascend and become a god, basically, and make your own world and have your own whatever system you want to do. So that's like all the pre-existent stuff, and that's kind of important to know to get started.
Yeah.
on the Adam and Eve story. So then with Adam and Eve or whatever, they put Adam there. The whole story is, the basic story is pretty much like you laid it out. God told them to be plentiful, but they, like, I don't know, the way you made it sound, it almost sounded like Jehovah's Witnesses, they believed that they were screwing. Adam and Eve were having sex, but she never got pregnant. Whereas Mormons believe that, like, they were in a state of innocence almost. So, like, being perfect, pure, innocent. And so they didn't, like, think of sex. Like, they didn't think about having sex with each other or
but
whatever.
They were commanded to bone.
I know. That was something that confused me back in the day. That was, one of the questions I asked my dad about. But, so, yeah, those were the commandments to, be plentiful, multiply, replenish the earth, and don't eat the fruit. Those are the 2 rules. And so the way my dad always taught it to me, and the way I was brought up in it, was just sort of like, they couldn't do one, they couldn't do both of them, basically. They had to choose one commandment or the other, and so they had to choose which one was more important. And so they seemed it was more important to multiply and replenish the earth so that all those souls in the pre-existence could come down and fulfill their lives and plan of salvation, yada yada, and be perfect and move on to godhood, right? Mm-hmm. So then they decided to sin. I don't know. It's not really clear, doctrinally speaking, if Adam and Eve had any sort of inkling of the importance of whether or not to eat the fruit or not. That's not really discussed in the scriptures or anything. So, But it's pretty standard fare as far as the story goes. There's not really any big differences.
Well, you know what? The pre-existence...
Actually, there's one big difference. The whole Cain and Abel thing.
Yeah.
This is just slightly off topic. But I don't know if you know this or not. But Cain, when he was cast out, he was given a mark, right? So that he would be known. He would, travel around the world or whatever, and he would be known and like cast out, and people wouldn't like him and all that kind of stuff. So he was given a mark, a curse. Mormons believe that the curse he was given was dark skin or black skin. So the black,
no way.
So the blacks are descendants of Cain, and so that's why they have the dark skin.
Oh my gosh!
And that's why all the way up till the 1970 something, 1972 or something like that, blacks were not able to get the priesthood. They weren't able to ascend to the higher levels of the priesthood or go to the temple and be sealed with their families forever. And so it's like, then after that point, God conveniently gave a freaking, another revelation that, let blacks in. So it's kind of fucked up, all of that.
Let me ask you something. Too. I've never met a black Mormon, have you?
Yeah. There was one family.
Do they believe that?
What?
Do they believe that too?
Yeah, they must have.
Oh shoot.
They must have. It's not something that Mormons shout from the rooftops, but if you're going to church and you're taking the church lessons and going to Sunday school, you're going to hear about the curse and it being the black skin.
Oh my gosh.
I think they downplay it a lot more now, but at one point, like when I was younger, this was kind of done, but it wasn't, and this is not doctrinal, but this is what people say. So like kind of in Mormon culture, they believe that 1/3 that was kind of teetering on the line back and forth, not sure whose side they wanted to be on in the heaven, but those were the blacks too.
We should call this ex-Jehovah's Witness versus ex-Mormon. Something like that.
But we're working together.
I know, but it's like conversation. Yeah. Ex-Jehovah's Witness versus ex-Mormon conversation. Or instead of versus, maybe and.
Yeah.
Something
clever.
Clever. Yeah, because I think any ex-Jehovah's Witness or ex-Mormon would find this very interesting. Because, we're helping, we would be helping them kind of move forward in the progression of getting back to, like, a regular life and figuring this stuff out. I mean, I know you've probably, this kind of thinking and figuring out this much stuff that we've known that we haven't even talked about yet, that we know, has taken a long time. It's taken years of thought and years of, like, reading and studying to figure out some of this stuff, and it's sad that it's so hard, to figure all this stuff out. You feel so lost.
You kind of feel like you're like the only one or whatever, and that kind of slows your progress and stuff. I had this idea for a nonprofit because I don't think these things exist. I don't think there's any nonprofit.
I think you told me about this. Yeah, like an organization, kind of like, I think we touched on it one time about like a help, like a recovery, right? A recovery for people.
Yeah, basically like a rehab clinic for religion.
Yeah, I definitely.
You come in and check in as an EXMormon or an ExJW or an ex whatever.
Yeah.
And then we have different programs and groups and things to help talk.
Gosh.
Talk through your doubts and
maybe that's what we're gonna do. Maybe that's what we're gonna do. And I'm not somebody who believes in any kind of superstition anymore. And I'm not gonna say we're meant to do this, but this could be a good purpose for us to.
You have no idea how amazing that would be for me. I would be so stoked to do that for my job.
To do that for what?
To do that for my job,
Oh, yeah.
Just persist off doing that kind of stuff. That would be badass.
It would be so fulfilling to be able to help people recover. And it's funny.
You can use it as a way to sort of improve people's view of non-believers,
Yeah, and
like show people's progress. We can film it, make videos for YouTube.
What's funny though? Okay, this is what I see happening, and I don't want to kill it by saying this, but this is what I see happening. Okay, so people are going to be like, oh, yeah, you should definitely help those poor ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Mormons. They need lots of help leaving their religion. And then when they find out, and we're like, oh, what religion are you? Oh, Pentecostal. And they're like, oh, we have a recovery group for you guys too. What? But we have the truth, you know? Like, why would you have a recovery for this? For us, we you know? And that's, like, every religion is going to, you know, we definitely need to have help, like even for Muslims, you know, because I know a lot of people are so anti-Muslim, but they're having such a hard time leaving because some of them are so they're not even strict on the belief. They just believe what their families taught them. They're not extremists, and they're not trying to kill anybody. You know, they're just following what they were taught. You know, what they were raised to believe this, and just like everybody else really values their views, it's like, you know, it's not their fault that this was what they were learned since infancy, you know? They really need help. They really do. There is an organization that helps ex-Muslims. I was watching a series on YouTube about this guy who's helping Muslims, and he was saying that it was so hard to help them because many times their family literally throws them out on the streets if they try to leave. Literally kicks them out with no second thought. Like they've had to.
They're technically supposed to kill them if they leave the church, right?
Right, but if they're here in the United States, they don't want to go to jail, so they just kick him out the street like a dog, and then it's just really hard for him to help him because he's like they're just so insensitive, you know, they don't care, like, and then he said that he's really had to help people escape, you know, that family is actually attempted murder sometimes. So it's one of those things, you know, like it's a hard process. It's a hard thing to do, but there should really be like buildings dedicated to helping people, just like NA, AA, and like all the other addiction problems, because this is worse than that, I feel, because see, you can get clean from an addiction, and even though some addictions, you know, do linger in your mind, and people who are true addicts like always have to deal with the battle, I guess in a way they're similar to it, because we always have to constantly, you know, especially for our families and still involved in the religion, you still have to deal with it, you know? You still have to think about it. It's not something you just get past and it's over.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to have a place where, you know, if someone got kicked out, they could know that they could go there, you know? They could get some help or whatever, or just somebody who can sneak away from their family and come over for like group therapy sessions while they're still pretending to be Mormon, you know, but being able to get out and discuss their concerns and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that would have been amazing for me growing up.
Yeah.
You know, if I'd had an escape someplace where I could have gone where my thoughts weren't fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Oh my gosh.
That would be awesome.
I think, like, my mom, like, let's say I did that with you and, like, we opened something like that and started, and she asked me about it and I told her what we were doing, and it was to help other religions and everything. Now, she would probably think it was so cool and such a good thing to do for all the people in all the other religions, but she would be very upset about any ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, probably.
Definitely.
And that's the thing, it's like, some people are really they're gonna love parts of it, they're gonna hate other parts of it. But I definitely think that we should have, like, what do you think is gonna be the key to helping people get away from religion, get out of it, and, like, recover? Like, what do you think, like, other than, of course, knowledge, you know? But, I mean, because people are gonna be trying to call us, like, you know, of course, atheists, and saying that we're into science.
I think the major focus would have to be the self. You know what I mean? Giving that person back to themselves first off. You know, because you don't want to, like, replace the authority figure of the church, you know, because then you're, like, totally defeating the purpose.
Yes.
The whole thing. It's like, I'm trying to fix the real issue here, not just, like, add myself to the problem. And so yeah, you help fix the person's self-esteem, their own value in themselves, and their own thoughts and feelings, you know. And then at that point, then they can really start assessing, you know, what are these concerns that I have? You know, are they valid? Are they not valid? You know, and all that kind of stuff. And giving them the tools to understand how to do that process. You know. maybe stick them in rooms where they have to be forced to listen to Tool for hours and hours and hours. Or,
I like that.
You know, all kinds of progressive therapies. I'm sure we can think of using various.
Even my art therapy. You know, there's a really I've been looking into art therapy. That's really awesome way of helping people, and you know, I think even, you know, giving people real facts from very credible sources to help them understand, like, things that are not logical about their religion, like simple things that maybe help them, like, you know, just come to terms with reality. Because honestly, I think that's been the hardest thing, is like coming to terms with reality. Because honestly, I mean, I really thought that I was living this life to try to get into the next afterlife, and that I was going to get to live forever in a perfect body, soul, and mind, like, and that I was going to never die, and I was going to get to explore the whole world. I would fantasize about it, because I believed that I wasn't going to heaven, that I was going to be on this earth, and it was going to be fixed up and created beautiful, because that's what they taught me. And, I mean, that was a really, I mean, and they act like I just decided not to believe so I could do whatever I want. No, you know how hard it was for me to come to terms with losing that? You know, now I have to come to terms with death, which I've finally done, but that was really hard to just come to terms with what is the most logical thing that death is. Not existing, like asleep with no dream, like not being conscious, you know what I mean? Like forever. Like that's a really hard concept for us humans to accept our mortality.
Yeah.
It's hard to grasp reality.
The last thing you said, I'm sorry.
It's hard to grasp reality, you know, when you have all these inculcated beliefs of everything that you believe the world to be. I mean, even like my thoughts. I remember thinking that God read all my thoughts, and so even when I thought something that was sinful, I would try to get it out of my head, and sometimes I would obsess over it because I was trying to get it out of my head. That I would like, it would really upset me, you know, and then it would mess up my mood, and so like it affected me so much and on a deep level.
And it's so hard to get through to believers how religion is a negative thing. You know, it's until you have your own personal experience with it being negative, it's really kind of hard to wrap your mind around it.
You know, one thing.
That's how it was with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the most faithful Mormon, you know, ever. But there were times where I was, you know, really righteous, and other times where I was kind of, you know, dip and rise. But, you know, but I always believed, like, in the back of my mind, I always, like, believed that Joseph Smith was a prophet and all that good stuff, you know, and that I was just falling short, you know, like, I was just not doing what I needed to do. You know, I still believed in all that crap.
Did you ever feel that feeling of unworthiness?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's hard. That's so hard. Because even, like, there was a time I fell away from it, but I still really believed it, so it was way different than now. Because now, like, I didn't fall away from it. I left it because I no longer believed in it. See, but this other time I'm referring to, I was feeling so unworthy. I just felt like I couldn't live up, like, uphold God's standards because I really tried. See, the difference between people who really try and care about living up to the standards versus people who live double lives. You know, I cared so much. I cared so much about pleasing God. In my mind, I didn't care if I liked it or not. I didn't care if I was in the right or if I was in the wrong, as long as God, you know what I mean, like, would be happy with it or approved of it. It didn't matter if, you know what I'm saying is my own perception didn't matter. If I thought I was right or wrong, did not matter. Not if I was in the right or the wrong, but if I thought.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I'm talking about, you know, in that nonprofit, giving people back to themselves. You know what I mean? Reteaching them that they're important, that they matter. You know, at the very least, they matter to themselves. And so that's something that religion takes away from you. You know?
Because then you feel like you have to be right for God, like you're doing good for God, not for yourself. It takes away your integrity.
Right. Right. But at the time, you believe that you're doing it for the right reasons.
For real. Yeah, and that's why, I mean, it's not that innocent. I mean, religious people are bad, you know, because people think that that's what we're saying. No, we just don't like religion because of how it abuses the kind hearts of people who are trying to do what's right for God. You know, some people have really good intentions and are living their life so strictly, you know, on themselves. They're not really doing what they want because they're trying to uphold all their religion standards.
Right.
Like I didn't go to college for years because they're not really pro college. You know, they've always said like you shouldn't really, like, I remember to give an example, like, why waste 8 to 10 to 12 years of your life going to college to be a doctor, and then Armageddon hit tomorrow, and then you didn't spend enough time in the ministry preaching door to door, you know, to get paradise, you know, and you didn't even, for what, you know, and you know, at those times, those things they said seemed so clever at the time, you know.
Yeah.
At the time,
I mean, they seemed like such a compelling argument at the time.
Yes, they did. It really did. It really got me, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's right. And now, like, now I'm barely going to school to just barely try to get into the registered nurse program, and I'm barely doing it now for myself, and it feels so good because I really never ever thought I would make myself do this because I had a big fear of failing in school, and I made myself do it. I had to push myself to do it because I was too scared, and I just felt like I didn't have enough of education or that I wasn't smart enough, like all kinds of fears, you know, to fail, not to do my homework, and just all kinds of stuff. And then Jehovah's Witnesses let me feed that fear more by telling me that it wasn't important, that I shouldn't go because I really should be, you know, preaching door to door and pretty much storing my treasures up in heaven with God, you know, and not with things that get dust and blah blah blah.
Well, basically, don't waste your time with things of the world because the world's gonna burn, baby, any day now.
Exactly. It's exactly what it was, and so I mean, it's.
And then there's still 1,000 years to go after that, right?
Yeah, you know, it's yeah, like they believe, you know, that after Armageddon, the people that are still alive through Armageddon actually get to live through it and see everything, but they're in a protective bubble, and the people that
What?
Yeah.
A protective bubble? What do you mean a protective bubble?
Like,
you mentioned it last time.
It'll say that that there'll be like 50,000 people falling to your right and whatever 1,000 falling to your left, but you will not be harmed. You know.
And behold, the globe of God doth descend from the heavens and rest around the multitude of the faithful, so that they could have a front row seat to Armageddon.
So, like, yeah, like we're just gonna get to witness it, and then it was crazy because I remember them saying that. So that we're gonna live for 1,000 years, right? Fixing up the earth, because it's gonna take 1,000 years for us to fix it up, clean it up, because it's so polluted and damaged. And then also for the 1,000 years.
Do they let you out of the globe after Armageddon, or do you have to fix the earth within the globe? Is the globe large?
Well, they didn't ever really depict a bubble. It was just like a protective shield, or you know. But
so like a
force field. Yeah, like you were just in this force field of like nothing's gonna touch me. But
that is high tech.
I know. So I just remember that they would say that during that 1,000 years, we were also going to grow to perfection. Like people who were blind, you know, or had a limb missing, would slowly, you know, would probably slowly grow back or slowly come back, or for that 1,000 years. And at that 1,000 years, when it ends, we'll be completely perfect. And
oh my gosh, could you imagine how maddening it would be if you had missing an arm and it would grow back over the course of 1,000 years? I mean, it's got to be useless for 999 of those years, right?
That's annoying. Yeah, that would be really annoying. I would be very upset.
But you'd be perfect. You wouldn't mind. You would understand God's glory, and you'd think it was fucking awesome.
Oh my gosh. You know, if you would ask me...
Can I wait another 1,000 years, Lord? Please, let me wait another 1,000 years.
Oh, on top of that, so after that 1,000 years when you go perfect, they believe that they're gonna let, or God's gonna let Satan and his demons out again, because he locks them up for in an abyss for 1,000 years. So when he lets them out, he's gonna let them test the world again, Satan and the demons, for 1,000 years. for another 1,000 years, they get to test you. But now we are perfect, like Adam and Eve. So now we get to be tested as perfect human beings, and we get the same opportunity that they did.
Damn. So where does all that come from? All that is in the Bible?
Yeah.
It can't all be in the Bible.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard all that stuff.
It's the way it's scriptural. It's the way they interpret the scriptures, and it's all scriptural.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so for the 1,000 years after that,
Mormons just make up their own scriptures, like they just make some new one.
That's what I heard.
Just like, fuck it. They're like, oh, I can't have multiple wives. Bam! I just got a revelation from God says I can. They're like, well, I guess we better write that down in our new scriptures that we're going to call the Doctrine and Covenants. Oh, cool. So I can have multiple wives now? Yes, sir. All right.
Oh my gosh. They thought that they wanted multiple wives until they realized how hard it was to give women orgasms. And then they're like, God damn it.
Do you think they gave any shits about giving those women orgasms?
I bet if those women were any kind of women, they would care about those orgasms. I would be pissed. I would have been like, excuse me? What do you mean you're done?
They probably don't even know about them. Have you seen the percentages of women who say they've never orgasmed?
Oh my God, that's true.
That's
so sad.
It's crazy.
That's so sad. Women like me get really enraged by stuff like that because I would be demanding, like, excuse me, no, you're not done. You're not done, right? You could take a break, but you're not done. That would not be cool with me.
Yeah, so then back then, you imagine it would have just been even more conservative, so probably even less of them had orgasms. They're like, what?
Gosh, so what? The guy just, like, has sex with a woman, his wife, and, one of them, bust a nut, take a break, maybe a couple hours later, hit up another one, and then just leaves them all unsatisfied. They're just like chickens, like, just get to, like, the rooster just sits on the chicken for a second, does his thing, and leaves. I mean, I lived on a farm, and it was like that.
Right.
I lived on a farm, and I remember the roosters, like, some roosters are way hornier than others, and they would just get on top of a chicken, fuck them, and then go to the next one a couple minutes later, and the chickens would, like, get nothing out of it. Didn't even look pleasurable at all. So, I'm just saying, like, is that what the Mormon guys are like? They're just, like, getting it in for 2 minutes, and then they're done? Ugh, that's so annoying, the thought of them. It's so annoying for me to think of myself as, like, an 1800 century woman who has a husband that climbs on top of me, comes in me, and then rolls over and goes to sleep. I would want to, oh my God, I'd want to beat his ass, like, I swear.
Oh, that's hilarious. You would have been stoned to death if you dared.
I know! And you know what? I would have prophesied that I was a god myself. I am a god woman, and I must have many husbands to satisfy me. And then I would have had my way. Then the men would have been at my feet.
How it works. It's all in the conviction.
Why? I don't know why women have to be so shamed and put down because of the scriptures too. Like, we're not supposed to talk. We're not supposed to in the presence of a man, and we have to have like a head covering. Jehovah's Witnesses literally will carry like a little scarf around with them, or even a little napkin, and they will put it on top of their head, even if it just barely covers their top of their head, and they'll look ridiculous. If they have to pray,
If they have to pray, they cover their head?
Yeah, in front of a man. If they have to pray in front of a man.
Why?
Because that's scriptural. I mean, they're supposed to cover their heads.
Huh. You go with a little napkin, it's a little cocktail napkin.
Whatever they have. Some women carry scarves around with them, and usually a scarf is the most... Yeah.
So if one of them had to pray and didn't have anything on them but their Walmart receipt, but they laid a receipt over their head.
I guarantee you.
That's fantastic.
I know. Fantastic. God, I wish I could make a little cartoon of that. I wish I could like make a little cartoon episode where there's these Jehovah's Witnesses praying, and she's looking for a head covering, and like, does anybody have a napkin? Do you have a handkerchief by any chance? Oh no!
I've got to pray.
It's okay.
I've got to pray.
Let me look in my purse.
oh, look, I found a receipt. Okay, that'll work. I'll just put that on my head. And then
wait, what about the purse? So what if you have several things on you of varying lengths and or thicknesses? So would you use the largest item, the thing that would cover your head the most, or would you use the one that would be the least conspicuous? You know, I mean, there's all
I don't
kinds of
know, but
questions.
the funniest thing I ever saw someone put on their head was this tiny ass little napkin. It was like a napkin, like a paper napkin that they unfolded, and they put that on their head because they literally had nothing else. And other than that, I saw somebody use a handkerchief once, like, because they were just stressed out about not having something on them. And so,
Sure.
oh my gosh, that's ridiculous, though.
Oh, man. How many years do you think it'll take for the majority to stop being Christian?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Please, in my lifetime, please let me see that in my lifetime. I'm so sad George Carlin did not get a chance to see.
I would love to see that in my lifetime. That would be amazing. Or at least, you know, see that it's definitely going that direction. I mean, it seems like it is.
Well, I mean, imagine...
The increased percentage of the nun, you know, like, that's pretty good.
Well, how long do you think it took for people to, like, stop believing in Zeus and Thor and all that?
You should, that's a good question.
I would like to look that up. I would like to look it up to see how long it took people. I wonder if there's anything that says, like, if we have any records of why they stopped believing in them. Oh my god, that'd be fascinating.
Oh, I think that actually was just atheism started up. That's why. Socrates. Those all ancient Greece, right?
Yeah?
So like all those philosophers at the time, it was Socrates. There was a few other ones too that were like atheists or whatever. And they were thinking outside the box. I think that's where it got started.
So you and I could be like considered philosophers in years from now. The great philosophers of our time.
What did you say?
Said like we could be the great philosophers of our time.
Well, I could be.
Excuse me?
I said, well,
I heard you.
Oh, sorry. Did you just fart then? Is that what the excuse me was?
Oh, what? Psst. Stop this recording. Stop it right now. So this is what I think. Something got people to stop believing in a lot of those crazy gods that they believed in for years. Something happened, you know. People came to their senses, and now those gods are mocked and laughed at because they're a joke. Now,
right.
And it's funny because people like totally know that those are fake, and they don't associate them with God, Yahweh. But people try to use the bullshit excuse now, and I did say bullshit excuse, okay, that it doesn't matter what God you worship. It's all the same. It doesn't matter if you call him Buddha, Yahweh, whatever, Allah.
Oh,
they try to say that it doesn't matter because it's all the same God. And it's like, because they say there's only one, but we just all call him different things. That's not possible because they all of those gods want completely different things. So how can it not matter what you call them?
Yeah, no, it totally matters because they have all kinds of different rules and everything. It's totally contradictory.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse. It's that whole respect my beliefs thing, you know. I respect your beliefs. Why can't you just respect mine?
Because
it's
not
like,
respectable.
no, we need to actually come to an understanding because these beliefs are damaging. You know, they're dangerous to the future of mankind.
What's to
bullshit,
respect?
You know?
I mean, seriously, what is there to respect about those beliefs? I mean, I don't find them respectable.
Yeah, what is there to respect about them? When you ask that question, you automatically, you know, you're offensive. Wow, how could you dare? How could you dare ask such a question? Of course, those things are great and wonderful. They're religion. They're wonderful. Everything, they just demand this freaking certain level of respect, and there's no reason to give it to them. No reason at all.
Right.
Everyone just pretends like there is because they don't want anyone calling them out on their particular brand of bullshit. You know, and so they'll back everybody else's bullshit to the point where, you know, everyone has their right to believe what they want.
Oh.
But that's absolutely not true, because, you know, I wouldn't have the right to believe that I could, you know, murder anybody that comes into my house, right?
Right.
That's not a right that I should have.
Well, they're not okay with Muslims believing what they want.
Exactly.
Because they blow everybody up. They'll blow you. All of you guys, all of us are considered, what is it? What did they call us? Infidels?
Oh, yeah.
We're all infidels, and we're all doomed, okay?
Oh, yeah, dude, we're screwed. We're going to be burning in hell so hardcore.
Huh?
Oh, man. I said we're going to be burning in hell so hardcore.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know what? I'm totally fine with hell, the thought of hell, because I never believed it as a Jehovah's Witness anyway, so this is how I know that Jehovah's Witnesses, their beliefs really fucked with me, because, like, the beliefs that I didn't have with them were fine for me to let go with, even though other religions uphold them, like hell, for example. You know, I never believed that as a Jehovah's Witness. You know what I mean? So it's really because they don't believe in hell. So it was so easy for me not to believe that now, because I never believed it then. So it wasn't something I had to let go. You know what I mean? But other things that have been hard for me to let go, you know, it's easier now, but in the beginning, oh my gosh, it was so hard. I had to question everything. I had to research and read so many things just to come to terms with reality, man. And it sucks. I shouldn't have to be thinking about this all the time, but it's still such a huge part of my life, because I can't let it go. Like, I have to always question things. I have to always be certain that I'm making the right decision.
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean. I'm the same way. You know, I probably overthink things, but at the same time, I feel like the danger of overthinking something is not as great as underthinking it.
True.
You know? And so I tend to err on the side of caution there, I think.
Me too. I believe that as well.
But, like, as far as, like, letting things go in my religion and stuff, I don't know that I ever really felt like I belonged there. You know, I felt like I was struggling against something all the time in order to be a member of the church. And so, you know, I still believed in it all. I wanted to believe in it. It was a nice story. I think if I was to choose, like, a Christian sect, you know, that I liked the most, I would say I would choose the Mormon one. Only because it's kind of like Christianity Plus. And it's got cool little things like super secret temples and, you know, secret magic underwear and various levels of heaven, super special VIP heaven. There's all kinds of, you know.
You get your own world.
You get to go and make your own planet and everything. I mean, come on. I was excited when I was a kid. I always wanted to make a fantasy world, you know, just like I saw in movies and stuff, you know, the dragons and monsters and magic and all that good stuff. So, I mean, that played to my ego.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I saw that cartoon and they're making fun of religious people, and the Mormon that they depicted on there, because it was like one person of each of the popular religions, and the Mormon kid, he was like, "I'm getting my own planet." Just like that. And then the one that was Pentecostal was all boogly boogly blah 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 blah. And it's like, oh, I guess he was speaking in tongues. Okay. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
It was sort of like a long gradual build up as far as me finally leaving the church, but it just kind of one day I was just sort of like, yeah, I think I'm done. And it was that day I just kind of like let it go. And it didn't really pull me down too much. I didn't have a lot of friends and stuff growing up in the church. I just didn't really get along with people that much. The one friend that I did take away from them was my best friend, Sammy, and he's still my best friend probably.
I didn't get kicked out, you know what I mean? Like, I left by choice. So I feel like I should have different consequences. My family shouldn't have to not be allowed to talk to me because I decided I don't believe it anymore. You know?
Well, the only reason they're not allowed to talk to you is because they don't want you to infect them.
Exactly. I'm an apostate now.
It's not really about anything other than that. They just don't. They want to minimize their casualties. That's all.
I just take it so personally because it really, ruined my relationship with my brother and
Well,
sister.
yeah, it's your family. I mean, of course.
That's
why
another
they do
part.
that. That's how merciless like freaking religion is. You know what I mean? It'll go straight through your fucking throat, and it won't think twice about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take away your family. And I'm just lucky that my mom and my grandma still, talk to me and love me. But I really feel like my brother and sister don't love me anymore because they will not even give me any kind of civil treatment if I'm in the same room with them. They won't even say hi. They're not even, they treat me like I'm not, just like I'm not even worth a look or consideration or acknowledgement. And I don't know how to explain that feeling, but it's very painful.
No, I can understand it, I think, but.
And you know what? It infuriates anybody who sees it, because people in my life have had to experience what my brother and sister put me through, and like unintentionally, like they might have been by my house and my brother and sister stopped by to get something they left here a long time ago, or something like that, and they just see the way they treat me, and it's infuriating to people. Like, wow, that's your family? Like, wow. Like,
yeah,
terrible.
It's crazy. Unlucky with the Mormons or whatever, they don't shun. Like, they'll kind of like ignore you and not really pay attention, but they won't necessarily like straight up ignore you. When I say ignore you, I guess I just mean it's sort of just not pay too much attention to you. But if you talk to them or whatever, they'll still talk to you. But they'll just kind of not talk about the black sheep, that sort of thing,
Huh?
Like it's like just sort of like a bad sore subject that nobody wants to talk about.
Right.
But it's not. Yeah, they're not as hardcore as that. That's intense. So maybe I can't understand. I think I probably spoke too soon on that. I can't understand that yet.
I don't know, I think it's like something you can just imagine too, just that if you were to, like, because for a whole year my mom did that to me too. Just imagine your mom being like really short with you, and that would be like the closest person to you in your life that you could talk to, and then just her being really short with you, like, get to the point, what do you want? Type of attitude.
Right.
Like, subtly, even more subtly than that, but just, that's the gist. And imagine, your siblings or whatever, just, you walking into a room and them not making eye contact, literally, like, avoiding you as if, and then if they see you, they look past you or around you, never making eye contact or looking at you as if you do not exist.
Yeah. Just like, when you would do that to your friend, pretend they're not there.
Yeah, just to mess with them.
Talk to the other friend and stuff, as though they're not there, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. It's so childish, too.
It is. It's so childish. But it gets really old fast, because it's like, gosh.
Yeah, I can imagine it get old.
But you know what's funny? I swear, if my sister really, really needs to talk to me, like something super important about the family, like something happened, or if she needs something, like, if it just has to be super important to her. Like, I'm expecting my income tax return and they mailed it to your address because she forgot to change her address. She will call me and talk to me for that.
Really?
Yeah. But she can't say hello, how are you doing? She can't be civil.
I don't know if I could do that.
Huh?
That would frustrate me. I said, I don't know if I could do that. That would frustrate me.
Yeah,
I would like to not take the call, or I would shun her on the phone.
She cherry picks. Dude, I want to. Sometimes I want to. Sometimes I don't want to reply to her when she talks to me. Because she, why don't I? Why do I respond to her? She doesn't know what it's like. I've never done that to her. I'm going to start doing that, I swear. When she calls me, when she even tries to talk to me, I'm not talking to her. I should do that. I know. I'm seriously. That would make me feel better.
You, and if she's like, what are you doing? Respond. Like, I'm shunning you. You're being shunned.
No, that would be funny. I'm shunning you. You're being this.
Yeah.
Shunning. Shunning. Shunning.
You've been shunned.
Shunning. Oh my gosh.
You should probably, like, turn off that recording. I'm probably like a gig and a half big right now.
You what?